welcome back to another episode of the Deductionist podcast, my lords, ladies, and gentlemen. How are you doing? I hope you're keeping well and safe and as happy as you possibly can be as the walls of the world come tumbling down around us. Aren't I chirpy this evening? Um, oh, hang on, we're off to a blinder already. You can be quiet. Go. So first things first, the 100-day memory upgrade has begun. This is my series that goes out across all short form content platforms, and consecutively, day in, day out, there'll be a little nugget or a little technique or a little bit of something that you can work on in order to increase your memory to a superhuman level, right? And it might seem like hyperbole, but whatever it is that you are at now, this pushes you further. Now, the split on this is specifically, this is for use in, I do this, real life, not competition memory. If you are looking to use these techniques to succeed in a competition, that's like an oxymoron. These techniques are suited for your life. The competition methods will be entirely different, and there are much more learned people than I that can tell you about those. Hey, thank you very much, sir. Lab 9. Do I give away your pseudonym? um, but yeah, so that's essentially what it is. So if you're enjoying it, share it with your friends, your family, your dog. Maybe they'll get something out of it as well. And my only goal is the the clarity that comes with knowing what your mind can do, right? There are many different levels of the kind of panic that comes along with overwhelm in its many different forms, whether it be a speech or a performance or anything else that you have to do. The over reliance on tech to do our thinking for us has knock-on effects in terms of our critical thinking capacity and our emotional intelligence. And not that securing a stronger memory solves all of that, but it helps because you are more equipped with organizing your own thoughts and organizing your own mind. That's one of the trade-offs of it. So that's my only goal. The more people that can organize their own thinking, the less chaotic interactions will be in the end game. Look at me. I'm just seeing all the crumbs I've just got down me. I've just had a nature valley before we started. I'm covered in crumbs. So that's what that is. So in terms of the time it goes out, it goes out across different times, and so the day one, day two, and day three are all up and rocking and rolling. Now at the minute, the first one was about the link system, and specifically, it was quite fast. Right, it was quite fast in terms of its delivery. I was thinking that if people were to slow it down, they'd pause it and get a method, but it seems that people have been going at the challenge, and I love that. I love a challenge, but that's a personal thing. Day two was about names and faces, just one additional habitual practice that you can use to sharpen your focus around names, which is one of those commonalities that seems to affect everyone in some form. And then today's was about chunking, a memory method that I specifically use around numbers. Doesn't have to be just used around numbers, but it's the pushing of things together so that in the video, 12 separate things aren't holding up 12 spaces. If you want to think of it that way, it is 12 separate things pushed together into three things, and so 12 things then take up four spaces instead, right? So it's easier to manage. All of these things will take a beat or two to get to grips with. Will require a little bit of practice, but much is the same with anything, right? There are sleight of hand guys that I know that have practiced the classic pass to get it beautifully every day for 10 to 15 years. Right, so its validity and its benefit is equal to your interest in it. So that's kind of the the purpose of it. I mean, Mr. Nine will know, the mentalist blogger, being from a fitness background as well. If you were to do 3 press ups or go to one Thai boxing class every now and again, that's only going to be equivalent to how far you develop in the discipline in that particular situation as well. So that is the 100-day element. It will not get in the way of all content, right? As it is that uh, at the moment there is a lot I have I have coming your way, and I hope that you enjoy it. And if it is that you want to stay up to that, make sure you stay up to date on that. Make sure you're following the podcast. And it is a very specific niche, but we are small, yet we are mighty. David and Goliath, or some other kind of metaphor that's suitable to the scenario. God, look at me, covered. Brush or something. Okay, so it seems that when I did the the Stoicism in relation towards memory methods, that a lot of you really enjoyed that. And there were a couple of private messages that came in about the Stoic thoughts towards deductive reasoning, observation, understanding human behavior, all that fun stuff, right? Um, oh, no. Oh, that sucks, mate. For those of you just listening, Mr. Nine has stated that no more press ups or Thai boxing for him. He's had to have a shoulder replacement in November. Mate, that sucks. I hope you're feeling better, or recovery is gone well. I've no idea of what the time frame on having your whole shoulder replaced is, but I can't imagine for 1 second that it's easy. But mate, that sucks. Um, I hope you're feeling as right as you can be for the moment on your journey to recovery. But dude, that's awful news. I'm sorry to hear that, mate. That sucks. Um, I mean, I don't know what I'd do if I couldn't work out in any form. Right? It's I think I've taken maybe 30 Thai boxing classes in my entire life, so I'm by no means as knowledgeable as your good self. But from the kung fu background, yeah, if I couldn't do that anymore, I think I'd go a little bit mad. So I sympathise entirely, mate. I hope you're well. I hope you're well. Um, but yeah, in terms of the it feels weird now moving on. I want to talk to you about it, mate. That sucks. Um, yes. So the connected properties of it are the stoic mindset is essentially built on a an openness and resilience, and I'm being specific to the observational side and the reasoning side. Its resilience is in thinking about it not just being about observation. If you were to try and decode essentially behavioral responses, whether that be through physical movement or language or all of the above, and then you put all of that information that's from one person, multiply it by however many people you're observing as well. It is key to have control over your own mind, right? The best detective, the best observer, the best people person isn't the one who just sees the most. It's the one who sees the clearest, right? And to do that, you have to be just as capable of challenging your own observations as you are of challenging your own biases, because we've all got them, right? Those are some of the things that prevent us from seeing with as much clarity as we possibly can. At its core, and there might be more philosophically minded people than I about Stoicism. It is a philosophy of mental discipline, of rational thinking, and emotional control, all crucial elements for an effective deductionist in any form. And this is part and parcel of where I get inspiration from for my affinity with Stoicism, because again, it is mine. And though the the messages were curious, I don't want to get preachy about this. If you like Stoicism, find out more about it. If you don't. That's that's up to you. But there are certain parallels that one could draw with somebody like Sherlock, fictional, I grant you, and Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and the rest of the guys. It's an emphasis for logic over emotion. It doesn't negate emotion. It's just emphasis of logic over emotion. That's all, because one can't exist without the other. Um, Bonsoir, Pascal. Ça va? Um, I imagine it'd be more the afternoon for you. Um, but the one that we could start with is Marcus Aurelius's idea. You have power over your own mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Which is interesting when you're thinking about it, right? I was like it happened once. I speak about this all the time because I teach it and I live it. So when you're looking at um, understanding an observation that you've made, you can split it into two camps. You can, right? Not that you should. You can split it into two camps, which is that of emotional data and data, the stats, the facts, the figures, right? Both are interpretations of observations for sure, but one has its roots in perception, interpretation, and belief, and the other is an immutable truism. You know, it is it is a lot like um, one of the things that Maddie shared in uh, mindset around how much you weigh, in that the scales are reflective of your relationship with gravity. It's not necessarily connected towards um, your your happiness, your relationships, your mind, right? You can control your thoughts about how you think and feel, two separate entities, in relationship to the number that turns up on the scale, and decide to act or not act accordingly. So in here, we're really thinking about perception versus reality, the separation of facts from assumptions. Oh, Pascal, uh, um, far too many. I could cite, my friend, far too many. If it is of interest to you, I would start with, and this is purely a personal opinion. Bear in mind, again, those more philosophically minded would agree or disagree. I'm I'm a big fan of starting with Marcus Aurelius. You can start with Meditations, but you can look at the papers of Seneca, Plato, Aristotle, Socrates, Aristophanes. I mean, it keeps going. There is a whole slew of things that, if it interests you, I would look into. Right? Cards on the Table, they can get quite dry as reads. They are the books that, it is, well, it's philosophy, so it is about the meaning that you find within them, and that's only going to be related to how interested you are in the topics, right? So I would start there anyway. When separating facts from assumptions, right? In being a deductionist, the greatest mistake is assuming rather than observing at the beginning. Epictetus is another one, teaches us that impressions, as in the first judgments that we make, are unreliable. We must train ourselves to pause before accepting something as true, right? Quoted as saying, if someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. right? It's related to what we were talking about in connection towards insults within the last episode. But if it is that a immediate first impression is made, it's not always necessarily the truth unless you are practiced at pausing first to take in the information and then feeding it back and validating, dismissing, and clarifying as we go. Because these first impressions, though, the saying goes, you never get a second chance at a first impression, they are almost geared towards the assumption of stereotype and the like, because they are, in essence, a kind of alluring emotional bias. It is the connection towards schema theory and finding an element that fits with our comfort and known interpretations of the world. Right? How comfortable we are with shaking that up is directly connected with how practiced we are in pausing and challenging that perception of what it is that we've seen, right? Not all muscle bound, backward hats wearing guys are gym idiots. Not all blonde, hair twirling, chewing gum chewing people are cheerleaders. This is the kind of dynamic that we're getting into. So the application of this would be that when we're observing someone, you don't assume based on appearances or personal biases. Instead, you break observations into objective facts, right? He is tapping his foot rather than he is nervous. You see the difference? Right? For somebody who just sees the tapping the foot, you might observe that as him being nervous, but that's already an inference. You've not seen the information for what it truly is in that particular way. Does that make sense? I realize I asked that question, and you guys en masse aren't able to answer me. For the ones that are here live, feel free to join in wherever you can, want, or choose to. Think of it as control versus influence. You focus on what you can control. It's an interesting dynamic from the state of observable facts. There is an element of polar that I teach, and Pascal can talk about this as well. In understanding someone's role in a moment is a great way to understand their motivations for all kinds of things. So if it is that I have control over my mind and nobody else's, I know what I can control and I know what I can't. Through access to somebody's role, can I have an idea as to what they control and what they can't? Right. This is the building block of the meaning of Marcus Aurelius's words. Right. It's a key principle in Stoicism. What is within your control and what isn't? When you're reading a person, there's many people that I spoke to in the CIA that hate that term, but I care not for terminology other than body language because it's the most misleading. Um, so let non-verbal communication. When you're looking at somebody's non-verbals, you can't control their behavior, but you can control your analysis of it. Yeah. Epictetus tells us that the chief task in life is simply this: to identify and separate matters so that I can say clearly to myself which are externals, not under my control, and which have to do with the choices that I actually control. Right? Think about that in a practical element. If you're going out to practice anything in relation to this, whether it be the memory or the observation of people, if you've noticed that you're observing someone as nervous, can you decode that observation that you've made? Because if you can't, there is a possibility that that is a belief perception and based on some sense of internal bias. Yes, there is also the possibility of it being an impulsive, instinctual response, but in order to train this stoic connection towards actual facts rather than the possibility of emotional bias and misinterpretation, Give you an example. The amount of Republican Trump supporters I know that asked me about the assassination attempt. So think about what's going on there. They've seen an assassination attempt, whether others have seen a staged assassination. Two big separate concepts that exist. So then I have to say clearly to myself which are externals that are not under my control and which have to do with the actual choices that I make in this moment as to how I interact, because I want them to hear my opinion. The question is governed by emotion, right? So you really have to think about this strength of mindset in terms of its breakdown. If you are trying to force a conclusion or make a person fit a theory, you need to work on your flexibility, your adaptation to new information. It is the it is the Sherlock Holmes quote in that situation of inevitably one begins to twist facts to suit theories instead of theories to suit facts. You can look at um, equanimity in observation as an emotional detachment for accuracy. You just put it down for a second. An emotional reaction distorts objective observation, right? The amount of people in the mentalist community, or the amount of hate comments that I'm trying to think of all people that have levied some kind of negativity towards me. Any of my exes, right? Might be a better pool to pull from. All of their information, I could have an emotional reaction to. Emotional is governed by a lack of control. You become emotional. My reactions can still be rooted in emotion for sure, but if I'm to remain objective in my observation of what I'm seeing, there needs to be that element there, right? Well said, Pascal. Hi, Genius 1000. Great name. Is that Patrick Jane as your profile pic? Quite small on my screen. If it is, hello. Right? If you I mean, the easiest one in terms of an emotional bias is if you dislike someone, your mind will unconsciously seek to confirm negative judgments. It will, right? One of the tasks I used to set people when first learning about virtue and what it is, not as in like the four cardinal virtues or anything like that, but virtue as in how Martin Seligman writes about it. Pick an inherently bad character from history, whoever you want. It'll be rooted in opinion for sure, but an inherently bad one. Pick their virtues because they will have them. And the amount of people that struggle because they talk about understanding virtue, but because virtue applies to everyone, it doesn't have positive or negative connotations. These are observations that just are, right? Marcus Aurelius reminds us to detach from emotional impulses in order to be able to see truth clearly. One of the things he was quoted as saying is, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. It's one of the reflections that you can make is that if you think about any problem that you have right now, within reason, all right, obviously, if you're staring down the barrel of a gun, it's a different kind of problem. And I would kind of question how you're being able to listen to the podcast anyway. But if you take, is a better way of phrasing it then, if you take pretty much any problem that you have right now, the problem itself is rooted in the future. You might be estimating the effects of it now in building up to the problem, but it's rooted in the future. You see the difference? So when you are investigating, take a step back. Practice the Stoic technique of viewing a situation as if you were an outsider. It would be referred to as the 10,000-foot view, as the eagle soars above it all. You can think of it as the amor fati, or amor fati, I think it's pronounced actually, the acceptance of reality and avoiding wishful thinking. Amor fati means loving fate, which is embracing reality as it is, not as we wish it to be. So within the kind of deductionist landscape, there are a ton of errors that happen when people resist reality, seeing what they want to see rather than what is actually there. Yeah. Look at the way the tariffs are trying to be rebranded en masse, right? That's not a positive or a negative comment. They work how they work. And the denial of reality skewers your observation of what it is that's happening. Epictetus tells us, do not seek for things to happen the way you want them to. Rather, wish that what happens the way it happens. Then you will be happy. Or watch The Matrix and pretty much any interaction with Morpheus in and around conversations around the Oracle. Right? This isn't a shift to believe in fate or not. This is just the accepting of what you see for what it is, not the immediate interpretations that come from what you want it to be. If someone's acting suspiciously, how do you know what's suspicious in that minute? You can acknowledge the behavior in order to investigate further. Right? You could look at um, the expectation of the unexpected. Premeditatio malorum. Bear in mind, I've never learnt a bit of Latin. I just remembered how the word looks. So I have no idea if that's pronounced correctly. Right? Premeditatio malorum. It's the practice of mentally preparing for obstacles, which is useful for avoiding cognitive biases. And now, anybody that's trained with me, that's what I base my techniques on. Right? Anyone that's ever said positive things about the benefit of the challenge, this is what it's rooted in. The first explanation is rarely the right one. Like if you look at certain factions of the American military, there is a phrase that goes hand in hand with their tactics almost. I'm laughing because of Pascal's comment. Sounds like a Harry Potter spell. It does, like a Patronus charm. Um, but the line from the military tactics is no plan survives first contact. This is it. The preparation for obstacles makes you more receptive to flexibility when they arise in reality. Again, Marcus Aurelius tells us the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. You could look at Bruce's interpretation of that, Bruce Lee, using no way as way. The art of fighting without fighting. And this is where my question that I've always asked. I definitely took root in inspiration in Super Forecasters, but its main origin is here. When you're analyzing someone's behavior, you would be asking questions like, what if I'm wrong? What if my initial judgment is wrong? That gives you new variables to consider. If you don't want to consider them, it's a distinct lack of critical thinking on your part, but it means you're ignoring information in the present moment. What alternative explanations exist then? What assumptions am I making? It takes a real distinct, honest human being to go, you know what, I've assumed something. I've jumped to a conclusion. Whether it happens in your deductive work, your social life, or anywhere else, it will happen to you. It's happened to me. It will continue to happen to me. You know why? Because we're all human beings. We have emotions. It will happen. You want to think of a practical exercise that you can use for equanimity and non-reactive observation. Go to a public place of any kind, park, cafe, whatever's near you. Observe the people around you without making any internal judgments. And that every time your mind jumps to a conclusion, that guy looks shady, that woman looks like this, that old guy's this, that young person's that, reframe it immediately into an objective fact. You'll begin to train your mind to observe without bias. Or, I love an exercise to do at the end of the day. Write down one of your social interactions that you've had, or talk it through out loud. Whatever, up to you. Gal, well, bold. Um, this might be one then for you, Pascal. Ask yourself of your interactions that you're having at the gentleman's club. Did I let my emotions cloud my judgment? And reframe the event from an objective, detached perspective. And over time, this rewiring, this neuroplastic response, will make your deduction sharper. Stoicism and deduction go hand in hand. The sharper your mind, the sharper your observations. Right? Let me know how you got on with this. Try those exercises and let me know what you noticed. Did you catch yourself making any assumptions? Did you need many reframing opportunities in that situation? This is Stoicism and Deduction, guys. If you've enjoyed this at all, don't forget to follow the podcast for more. Comment down below what you got out of this and what your takeaways were. I'd love to hear from you. Keep your eyes peeled. I have a new group opening very soon, of which you'll see the links for it. There are 18 of us in there already, and I'm opening it out to everyone else very soon. It's a platform built around this memory, critical thinking. Um, that stop me because that's a great question. Do we need to use a picture of the moment to do that exercise? No, you don't need to. You can if you have it, but you don't need to. It's not something that's rooted in there. This is just the development of a powerful mental model. All right. So with that in mind, guys, I am going to love you and leave you, and I'll see you very soon for another one. All right, take care.